Death has taken our beloved George Fine. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation. In their tears, there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God. Be with them. For George's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever, for his companionship that we shared along life's path, which continues through the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of his heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and are now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death.
Adonai roi lo echsar bino deshe yabitzeni alemei menuchot yinaleni nafshi shovev yishovev yancheni b'magalei tzedek yancheni b'magalei tzedek leman shemo gam kilech b'getz hamavet lo hirara ki ata imadi shivtecha umishanetecha hema yinachamuni taroch lefanai shulchan neged zorai Tishanta Vashemen Roshi Kosi Revaya Achtova Chesed Yedivuni Koyemechayai Vishavti Bivit Adonai Leorech Yamim Adonai Roi Lo Esar Adonai Roi Lo
God is my shepherd, I shall not want. You make me to lie down in green pastures. You lead me beside the still waters. You restore my soul. You guide me in straight paths for your name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Eternal forever.
Shomrein el ki chasiti vach. Amart l'Adonai, Adonai ata tovati balecha. Litoshim asher ba'aretz hema, v'adirei kochev sivam. Adonai menat chelki v'chosi, ata tomich gorali. Chavalim naflu li banimim, af nachalat shafira alai. Avarech et Adonai asher yatzani, af leilot yisruni chiliotai. Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid, Ki mimini balemot, lachen samach libi, vayagel kevodi, af bisari, yishkon lavetach. Ki lo tazob nafshi lishol, lo titein chasidcha lirot shachat. Todiheni horachayim, sovas machot et panecha, nimot bimincha nitzach.
God heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. God reckons the number of stars, giving each one its name. Great and full of power is God, whose wisdom is beyond reckoning. God gives courage to the lowly and brings hope to those bereft. So may God always be with us. Chana Senesh wrote, "There are stars whose radiance is visible on earth, though they have long been extinct. There are people whose brilliance continues to light the world, though they are no longer among the living. These lights are particularly bright when the night is dark. They light the way for humanity." George Fine was a survivor, and his life and memory will light this world for many years to come. He spent his life doing all he could to provide for his family, to be self-reliant and well-skilled, and those characteristics that helped him make it through the war and to thrive here in Canada. George and his brother Alan were born in Lithuania. They were a musical family. George's father and his brother were Hazzanit, and George sang in the synagogue choir later on in life in Ottawa. He was born Getzel Fingerhut, and as a young man before the war, he studied mechanical engineering. Though the war interrupted George's education, he finished his degree in Munich after its end. George survived the Shoah, first being forced into the ghetto in his hometown of Shaulai, and then surviving 4 different slave labor camps, primarily due to his skill as a mechanic. George, along with his father and brother, lived through a death march in April of 1945, when they were liberated by the American Army. George was married to Shary for 70 years. After the war, George's father met Shary in a DP camp, and after they came to Montreal, Shary and Alan worked in the Yiddish theater. Alan got the 2 of them together, and they had a wonderful marriage. They were very active, skiing, mountain hiking, biking, working on their house, doing all the painting and plumbing by themselves. They always cared for each other so much, and in the past 2 years, Shary came to the hospital every single day to be with her beloved George. George was a good father to Marvin and Edward, and to Saul, who tragically predeceased him. After emigrating to Montreal, the family moved to Ottawa and then to Toronto. They skied together and George was always attentive to his sons' needs. He taught them to love the outdoors and to be healthy and fit. He would tell them, if the house is too cold, do 10 push-ups and 10 sit-ups to get warm. He taught them to value the value of being financially independent, of owning their own homes. George worked hard all of his life and was a fine engineer. Among the buildings he worked on were Place Bonaventure and Place Ville-Marie in Montreal, the Chateau Laurier in Ottawa, and many buildings here in Toronto, in Halifax, and all over Canada. George was proud of being Jewish. He helped to build Temple Israel in Ottawa and sang in the choir there. His family were members of Temple Beth Shalom in Montreal and have been members of Temple Har Zion for many years and have shared their story with us in our Zikaron Basalon. George loved history, and he was a fine mathematician. He never used a calculator, and throughout his life he counted and did math in Yiddish. He loved tinkering and creating art and made creations of stained glass at home. He believed that everyone should learn to be useful and to keep busy. He spoke Yiddish, English, Hebrew, Russian, German, French, and Lithuanian. He even taught some of the hospital staff Hebrew, a little bit. They were lined up to say goodbye to him when he died. He really made an impression on everyone he met. When we think of George in the months and years to come, we will remember a man who was determined to survive, no matter the challenge. He was a proud Jew, so pleased that his sons made Aliyah. He earned his own living from a young age and never wanted to be beholden to anyone. He was fiercely determined to be independent. George's family will always treasure the close bonds of devotion they shared with him. May he be to them more than a memory. May he always be in their lives a living presence. Amen. And I'd like now to call upon Shary to share some thoughts and memories with us.
George and I were both survivors. We come from different countries. When we met, the only language we spoke together was Yiddish. And we carried on in the different camps. We did not meet until we got to Montreal. But he was in different camps. I was in different camps. I was twice in Auschwitz, just in case I missed one. Because Schindler's List, if you remember, was too close for the Russians to come in, so they didn't know what to do, so they shipped us back to Auschwitz. So it's my second time to Auschwitz. I met Mengele a few times, and when he looked at you, it's only you were hoping that he's not going to send you to the crematorium. Well, he didn't, but some other SS woman did. She grabbed my head and she says, "We're coming," and we go to the crematorium. Now, since I was there and I knew what the crematorium is, and I looked at it and I said, "Well, any minute I'll be in the chimney." No, I don't want to go yet. So there was a group of people going the other way from work because everything was at night. So I jumped in and with this group of people, not knowing where they're going, but I figured wherever they're going, it's better than where I'm going. So I did. And my muzzle was they went into the same barrack, not the same barrack, but in the same general place. And I went into my barrack, and there was my two sisters. And she's, "Well, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be dead." I said, "But I'm not. I'm alive." So there I went into the bunk, joined them, because you needed to be 5 people. You couldn't be 2, 3, otherwise you couldn't stay uphill. So we went there, and I was there, and this is my big survival, really, from Auschwitz. Auschwitz had one barrack that was called Canada with a K. And I was hoping that one day I'll go to Canada because I needed a pair of shoes. I was barefoot. And it was cold. And I said, if I ever survive this war, I'm going to Canada. How am I going to get there? I didn't know. But I figured somehow. But I did survive. And after surviving, we had to look for something to do. We joined the Yiddish theater. We were going from one camp to the other to entertain the people because everything was bitter. And so one day, it was in Garmisch-Partenkirche, a guy gives me sends a note, and he wants to see me. I said, okay, come on over. Comes over. He says, would you like to go to Canada? I said, would I like to go to Canada? Of course. Well, we could go to Canada. They want furriers, but I have to be married. I cannot go without being married. They don't want single people. Oh, okay, so would you like to marry me? I said, sure. We'll make an appointment in Munich and we'll get married. Didn't know, I hardly knew even his name. So we go to Munich and we get married. I come home back to my camp, which was in the DP camp. I found a letter that I was accepted to go as a domestic to Canada. I said, oh my God, and here I am married. No good. I'm going back to Munich, and I see the judge or whoever married us. I said, I'm sorry, but I need a divorce. But lady, you were married yesterday. I said, what was yesterday was yesterday, but today I need a divorce. All right, here is a divorce. He gives me a paper, I'm divorced. Okay. The guy never knew whether I was married, whatever. I didn't even know where he lived. So years gone by, we all immigrated to Montreal. That was the place, that's where I'm going to work. And my sisters did not go with me. They all went to, supposedly it's going to be Israel, but Israel was not yet. So they went to they were in a camp before that. But then in any case, they were already married. One married a Greek fellow, and one married a Turkish fellow. These are all people that were in the camp. I also knew my father-in-law, which was Alan's father. And these two guys, Alan and George, I didn't know them because they were in Munich studying. I was in camp with the rest of the people. So I get to Montreal, and my father-in-law keeps saying, why don't you come for a cup of tea? Cup of tea, an old man, what am I going to do? I was young. Come for a cup of tea. All right, tomorrow I'll go, Sunday, go to cup of tea. I didn't know why he wanted me to go to the cup of tea, but I went. I went there, and there was George, because Alan was already busy with a girl, so he was already more or less taken. And that was the first meeting. My father-in-law thought, this is a good girl for my son. Even though I wasn't Lithuanian, I wasn't that Jewish, and I was religious, I was a mixture. But anyway, it didn't take long because, you have no time for nothing. You got to get married. Okay, you want to get married, so let's get married. Okay, we'll get married. But we have no money. How you get married? Shary, do you have any money? I said, I have $30. You do? Okay, can I borrow it? Sure, here is my $30. He also had probably $30. The rabbi took $10. And we married in the rabbi's house because we didn't have money to go to any big deal. So we got married. And George was always worried about his job. What happens if I lose my job? He was a warrior. But then, before long, we had one child, another child, we had 3 boys. Well, 3 boys, we have to have a house to live in, because we know that you need a head, something over your head. If you don't, you're not secured. So we buy a condo, we borrow from one and the other, and everybody gave us a few dollars. Before long, we paid it back, and we lived in that condo. And from there, George was really very successful in his job. His brother, Alan, never practiced dentistry, but he has one son who is a very successful dentist, but he lives in the States now. So here is one son, a good dentist. So we lived in Montreal. It was quite all right. I started to teach fitness because that was my line. I was in gymnastics. Romanian. What do you do in Romania? You go in gymnastics. Everybody goes in gymnastics. So that was it. I didn't have a license, but it's okay. Montreal accepted me. YMHA, it's okay. And George worked, actually, he got a job with CIL, which was very unusual for a Jewish boy to get a job at CIL at the time. But he was doing very well. He kept on. Before long, we moved to Ottawa. And in Ottawa, I have to go to the YMCA, not YMHA. So YMCA, you need a certificate. You have to be an instructor. You just cannot go in. Oh, okay. So we go to school, and I get my certificate, and here I am, a certified phys ed teacher, and I worked in Ottawa, YMCA, where Ottawa was also very good for skiing. We were hiking in the mountains, in the Adirondacks, but something to do. I don't know why this was the only thing. I encourage my kids also. All the 3 boys, when they were 7, they went to ski school, because you gotta do something in the winter. Canada is very nice, but in the winter, what do? You gotta do something. So I must have been, I was married maybe, I don't know how long. All of a sudden, one day, George yells, "Shary, Shary!" Yeah, what's wrong? Were you ever married? I said, yes. What do you mean? You never told me. I said, what for? What for? You are married and you don't tell me that you're married? I didn't think it was important. So, anyway, living in Ottawa, it was very nice, because Expo 67, he was doing all these buildings. He was very busy, and I don't know what happened. Oh yeah, the boys were in Toronto, 2 boys, one was in Edmonton. Well, George was still worried about what happens if he loses his job. Well, okay, I said, you know what? Let's buy them each a condo. By the time they reach 16, everybody has a condo. We saved the money for them, and all the 3 of them owned a condo at 16. This is security, and we're not going to have to worry about what they're going to do, because then they could sell it or they could rent it, which I rented, but of course, I became a renter. And George was not too good at that with people. So we rented and they did very well, and it was very profitable. Hey, you have a condo, you have the money. And he came to Toronto for something, and I think it was one of the buildings needed some acoustics, I don't know what. Comes home, Shary, what do you think of going to Toronto? Toronto? Oy. It's a big city. I'm living in Ottawa. I like it. It's small. Well, okay, so let's go to Toronto. We go to Toronto, and he says, you know what, this street I like, Joshua Court, looks good. It's a dead-end street. It's all right. Let's build there a building, and we did. And the building went up, and we lived there for about over 21 years. But while we were in Toronto, he already, by 75, he didn't accept any work anymore. So I said, what are we going to do here? You can't ski. Let's go to Florida. And we'll stay there for the winter. And we did. We did. 23 years later, that was by that time, George was about 96, 97. No, 96, 95. He got sick all of a sudden. Well, hospital in the States was very scary. We're not going to stay there. And my son called the insurance, says, listen, ship them back to Toronto. It'll be cheaper for you guys. And they did. We went with the plane, George and I, and the plane. And in no time at all, we arrived in Toronto, and I went to Sunnybrook first, and from there, of course, we went to other, because we were on this side of Steele, so we have to go to the, yeah. So anyway, and there we looked around. Edward came with me to look around a place where it's going to be more permanent, and this is the one we preferred. And that's where he was for 2 years. And he made a very big impression on these guys. They liked him. When the coffin was going out from the hospital, there was a lineup of the nurses, the director, everybody said goodbye to George. So I said, we did something right. And really, it's who you are, and this is what happens, and this is how people appreciate. You earn everything. It doesn't come easy. It is, you earned it. And they were very good and very nice to us. I was there every day. Every day, I went to the gym 6 in the morning, worked out for 3 hours, went home, had a breakfast, went to see George. I'm lucky. At 95, I still drive, so this is also luck. And this is how it went. I went to see him the day before, and a friend of mine, Shary, was with me. We also came to see George, which came a few times. And I didn't realize that the next morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, they called us. Sorry to tell you, but George is gone. And so we end with a goodbye. We had a good life. George had a good life. He did. He was good to his children. He was good to me. We were good. We lived 70 years. That is a lot of years to live with the same man. But we made it, and here we are. And I say goodbye to George now.
Shary, you and George were an inspiration to everyone who knows you. You still are. That in the days and weeks to come that you will share your stories of George with Shary and her family so that they can complete the portrait that was his life. We take just a few moments now for silent prayer or remembrance. you give us loved ones and make them the strength of our life, the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us bereft on a lonely way, but you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you the stricken look for comfort, and the sorrow-laden for consolation. O God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures, and the soul endures, as you, O God, endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in a world that is the dwelling place of your love and your glory. Please rise.
El Malei Rachamim, Shochin Bamromim, Hamse Menucha Nechona, Hamse Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Ashchina. Im Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezohar Harakim Azirim, Et Nishmat Ketzel ben Yosef uMiriam, Shehalach Leolamo. Ba'al Harachamim, Yastirehu Beseter Kenafav, Leolamim. V'yitzror b'yitzror ha'chaim et nishmato. Adonai hu nachalato. Ve'anuach b'shalom amishkavo. V'nomar